No, I don't. I don't have to take this abuse from a piece of paper. I have retro games to play. Hey there, how's it going? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. I think it's finally time to admit something. I am a handheld gamer. Not like a tiny little gamer guide that you hold in your hand. That would be silly, but also kinda neat. Like one of those little digital pets, except instead of cleaning up poop, you have to listen to opinions about aspect ratios. And also, yeah, there'd probably still be some poop. But seriously, I've basically always been a handheld gamer. Before I even had a Gameboy, I had one of these. This is the Merlin. It had like tic-tac-toe, Simon, and other games designed to keep children occupied while their parents considered abandoning them at the mall. Handhelds have kind of become timeline markers in my brain. I remember phases of my life based on what I was playing on, right from my early Game Boy years all the way up to the now years. All these historic eras of the TechDweeb saga. Carrying around weird plastic gadgets in my pockets and letting that become a defining aspect of me as a person. And since getting into emulation handhelds, oh man, a concerning number of these little things have entered my life. Not all of them stuck around though. Some were neat but ended up collecting dust. Some were too weird, some just never clicked. But a few became absolute obsessions, devices that I played a concerning amount of. So today I'm gonna go through the handhelds that got the most playtime from me. Everything from the childhood legends and my emulation favorites and the current rock stars that I can't put down right now. The devices that consumed thousands of hours of my life and gave me nothing in return, except happiness. Let's start with the obvious, the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. I had this thing for years. As a kid, my bus ride was over an hour each way, so I had lots of time to think, to dream, to stare out the window like a bored zoo animal, but also to play Game Boy, assuming I had batteries, which was not a given for young TechDweeb. I didn't own many games, but the ones I had, I got real good at them. I remember playing lots of Tetris, Hyper Load Runner, Alleyway. I went through a Trekkie phase too, so the Star Trek The Next Generation game got played to death. Oh, so many others. Even in high school, I skipped the Game Boy Color and I still kept coming back to this thing. This right here, this is my original Game Boy actually. I only replaced the screen cover. Still going strong. What an absolute legend. I did have a Game Boy Advance and I did like it, but honestly, it mostly got used as a tiny little media player more than actually gaming. I had one of those GBA movie players with a compact flash card and I'd load it up with episodes of cartoons and MP3s. But then the Nintendo DS showed up and instantly embedded itself into my life like a brain parasite, in a good way. I still used it with that GBA movie player for shows and MP3s, but this thing actually got me back into handheld gaming. I was a PC gamer at the time, but college meant that I was away from home constantly. So I ended up putting a ridiculous amount of time into the DS, playing tons of different types of games. RPGs, turn-based strategy games, platformers, puzzle games, stuff I barely touched on the PC. And because I had a DS for so long and played so many absurdly long games on it, the original DS actually is my most played handheld of all time, I think. We're talking thousands of hours, maybe tens of thousands, which sounds kinda pathetic now that I think about it. To this day, no single handheld has spent more time in these dweeby hands. Back in early 2020, something happened that changed my life forever. Actually, several things happened. The pandemic was kind of a big deal back then. And like a lot of people, I went through a bit of a existential crisis. Around that time, I bought something that genuinely changed the trajectory of my life. A little retro emulation doodad called the new Bittboy. The bezel on mine is broken, but this is what it's supposed to look like. When I bought one of these newfangled emulation handhelds, I had no idea how obsessed I would become with retro games, and with this weird hobby where grown adults get excited about new fake Game Boys. The Bittboy became my favorite thing. I played old NES games, Game Boy and Super Nintendo favorites, arcade games, GBA RPGs that I'd never touched before. Here I was playing them for the first time. And I brought this thing everywhere. Walks, stores, other stores. It basically became an essential life accessory. The new Bittboy didn't just get me into retro handhelds. It kinda created TechDweeb, if you think about it. As time went on and I got more into making videos on my channel and I got deeper into emulation and handhelds, lots of doodads came and went, and I loved a bunch of them, but the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus was the first that felt properly powerful. This thing handled Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast and PSP without breaking a sweat, plus a surprising chunk of GameCube and PS2. Suddenly, whole game libraries opened up to me. It was like discovering hidden rooms in a house, except the house was full of JRPGs instead of those terrible things that I saw in that room that haunt me to this day. This is also the handheld that got me into emulation on Android. I kind of just fell in love with the power and the customizability of Android for the first time on the RP3 Plus. This was my most powerful handheld at the time, and that combo of power plus endless games meant that this thing got used a lot. The Logitech G-Cloud had a weird entrance into my life because I came into this fully expecting to dislike it. The chip was weak, high-end emulation like GameCube was pretty lackluster. This thing was built for streaming, and back then I didn't really care about streaming PC games or cloud stuff. But that's not what made me love it. What sold me was the hardware. This thing was big, comfortable. It couldn't run high-end games, but I didn't care because using it was just so nice in general. I quickly realized that retro games were amazing on here, and I used this to record gameplay for videos too. So between loving the device and using it for the channel, this thing just spent a ridiculous amount of time in my hands. Around the time of the RG35XX Plus, my channel started to take a new turn. Every month there was another doodad, slightly better, or at least slightly different. And this was when handhelds were all becoming just really good. They all had nice screens, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, HDMI out, enough power for Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast and PSP. The hobby was evolving, like Pokemon, except into grown adults carrying 4 fake Gameboys everywhere and playing lots of Pokemon. The RG35XX Plus was kind of the most retro handheld of the bunch, just the distilled essence of what a handheld is. Before this, my main doodad was the RG353VS, but the RG35XX Plus stole the throne real fast, and I used this thing a ton. All my other XX devices, I love them, but they ended up playing second fiddle to the 35XX Plus. This thing was like the blue jeans of handhelds. Dependable, comfortable, and it smells faintly of chili because of that one time you spilled food on it and the smell never really left. At least, mine does. When I got a Steam Deck, I wasn't expecting to love it. I mean, taking your big powerful gaming PC and shrinking it down, making it weaker, removing the mouse and the keyboard, it sounded like a downgrade, which just goes to show how wrong and stupid and horny I was. Because the Steam Deck is way more than a PC that plays PC games. It's a PC that plays PC games while you're wrapped in a blanket on a couch with pillows and snacks like a snuggly little cozy pile of puppy muffins. I think a lot of people had the same experience. You buy one thinking, maybe I'll use it sometimes. And then when you start using it, your backlog starts disappearing for the first time in your adult life, and it clicks. Because weirdly, even though the deck plays a ton of impressive looking stuff, I think the deck shines brightest with smaller low-spec games. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the Steam Deck changed the PC indie game landscape overnight. I played an absurd amount on the deck, enough that for a while there, it stopped feeling like a handheld. It just kinda became a part of me. Or maybe I became the handheld. I don't know which is more true, but I'm fine with either. There have been a lot of great Retroid doodads over the years. The original, the RP2, the 2 Plus, the 2S, the RP3 Plus, the Retroid Flip, the RP4 Pro, but in my humble opinion, the Retroid Pocket 5 was the point where Retroid finally looked at all their previous homework and did the thing that they had been trying to do all along. The RP5 absolutely nailed what a Retroid should be. Great size, comfortable but still pocketable, amazing price to performance. The Snapdragon chip handled everything up through GameCube and PS2 like a champ, with community drivers letting us push into Switch and PC territory. The OLED screen was gorgeous too, obviously. Sometimes I'd fire up a game and just gawk at how good the pixel art looked. And then I'd die because I was too busy sightseeing. Not in real life, just in the game. I'm not dead yet. just to be clear. The RP6 is good, it's really good. The Flip 2 is also neat, but honestly, I still prefer the RP5. This thing just spent a ton of time in my hands, simply because it did so much right. And now we come to the present day. What doodads am I actually playing the most right now? And this is actually pretty darn easy to answer because there's only 3 in heavy rotation right now. Which sounds low, but remember, I'm TechDweeb. I still grab random handhelds, constantly, impulsively, worryingly. But these are the few that have truly held my attention, the ones I reach for over everything else. And for a retro doodad for retro games, I am playing that stuff on the RG476H. In my review of this thing, I called it the most retro handheld ever, which means that it's a handheld for playing retro games. No more, no less. But it turns out, for retro games, the most retro handheld ever is actually exactly what I want. This thing has a big lovely 4.7-inch 4x3 screen. It runs at 120 Hz too, so the device itself feels smooth and snappy. Retro games look incredible. It's a perfect middle ground size, small enough to shove in a pocket if you need to, but big enough to be comfy while you're playing with it. I love that it's simple shaped, no ergonomic humps or protrusions to cramp my style, and I love the retro vibes. We'll see how I feel in a few months, but right now, in my mind, this thing is like the ultimate retro deck. I don't want to play retro games on anything else these days. So if the RG476H is my main retro handheld right now, what the heck is the Odin 2 Portal doing on this list? Well, I'm glad you asked, imaginary person that I invented for pacing. A few weeks ago, I made a video called "We Don't Need the Steam Deck Anymore," where I argued that PC gaming on Android has gotten so shockingly good that depending on what you want to play, you can absolutely get away with an Android handheld instead of a Steam Deck or whatever. And I've been doing exactly that. The Odin 2 Portal has basically become my new Steam Deck. Most of the stuff I'd normally be playing on the deck, I play on here instead. I just prefer it. It's thinner, lighter, it has a huge high refresh rate OLED screen. The controls are amazing too. And with the official grip, this thing is stupid comfortable. Because I can run almost all the PC games that I actually care about, mostly indie stuff, this thing quietly stole the deck's job while nobody was looking. Now, should you buy an Odin 2 Portal instead of a real handheld PC? Is the question. And the answer just kind of depends on what you want to play. I've got tons of indies installed and only a few bigger, more graphically impressive games. I'm in full-blown indie obsession right now, and for that, the Portal is the easy pick. And because it's 2026, everything else with RAM and storage has shortages, back orders, price increases, but the Portal is still somehow pretty cheap. It goes in and out of stock, but right now it's actually on sale. $250 for the base model. That's a crazy good price for this thing. I am so glad I have one. I love this thing. Both of these things. Most of my gaming lately is split between indie games on the Portal and retro games on the 476H. They're the dynamic duo in my life right now. My Batman and Robin. Hey Robin, you want to go fight some crime? Yeah, Batman, I do. Right after this. Oh yeah. I know I said earlier that my RG476H is my main retro handheld and I don't want to play retro games on anything else these days, but that was kind of a lie. Which is unfortunate because that means that I've become an unreliable narrator in my own story. Because the Miyoo Mini exists, and I have one. Which means that I'm a happy little dweeb who carries around a tiny fake Gameboy and uses it way more than feels responsible for a grown man. The Miyoo Mini is my favorite thing, not just handheld. My favorite thing. I don't use it as much as whatever big boy handheld that I'm obsessed with at the moment, but it serves a completely different purpose. I always have this little dude with me. I'll fire this up to continue my playthrough of Dragon Warrior 1 and 2 on Super Nintendo, or fire up some quick dumb arcade games, or a racing game, or beat them ups, whatever. The Miyoo Mini is my little pocket friend for whatever I'm in the mood for, anytime. My mom called this my emotional support Game Boy. She thought she was making fun of me, but I embrace that notion. I don't have my Miyoo Mini with me. Now, you can't actually buy the Miyoo Mini anymore. They stopped making it, but the Miyoo Mini Plus is still around. It's only a bit bigger, and honestly, it's a great alternative. Check out this video if you want to know more about that special little guy. Actually, I think on the whole, most people would probably prefer it because it's a little bit bigger. But for me, the original Miyoo Mini has gotten so much playtime over the years that I genuinely think it's creeping up on the original DS in lifetime hours. And when it finally overtakes the DS, maybe I'll make a celebration video. That's a fun idea. I mean, any excuse to talk about the Miyoo Mini again. I actually had more handhelds that I wanted to mention, but I had to cut down the list just to kind of keep it focused. And there's been other handhelds that I've loved and used a ton, but just not as much as the legends that I showed off in this video. If you're looking to pick any of these up, I'll try to find some links for you and put them in the thingy below. But now, I gotta know, from you, what are your most played handhelds? Let me know your most played handheld of all time and your most played right now. I might make a video about this in the future, so, just put them down there. Don't be shy. And that'll do it for me for today. Click the thumbs up button if you like the video. Click subscribe if you haven't. Notification button, hype button, all the YouTube buttons. Click the buttons. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.